brother ditched his own wedding and ruined his life. So my brother, 38, has always been an a-hole, but this is next level even for him. He's a drinker that has long stretches of sobriety before falling off the wagon pretty hard. He's been drinking again recently, but during his stag do a couple of weeks back, he was completely well behaved. He was drinking most of the day, was perfectly pleasant and responsible to everybody, and went to bed with no issues. By the way, this comes from the Mighty Hucks on the OK Storytime subreddit. Now, on top of all of that, he's never been completely trustworthy. Always doing the minimum amount of work he can to get by, and often hooks up with the kind of women that are lonely and willing to do everything for him. For the last several years, he's been with a very kind lady who still fits that description. This girl can do it all: painting, decorating, plumbing, fixing cars, anything she sets her mind to. Absolutely the opposite of my brother. She asked him to get married, and after he said yes, she went to work, putting months of time and effort into planning and buying everything to make it perfect, including his own suit, shoes, etc. And she was working overtime to make this happen. The night before the wedding, she was up late decorating the venue whilst he was at the pub having a few beers with the father of the bride and his best man. Around 12 a.m., those guys decided enough was enough and it was time for bed. My brother wanted to head into town, and the guys were telling him not to be so stupid and escorted him to his hotel room. Cut to around 8 a.m. the next morning. My sister is doing the bride's hair and makeup, my mother and auntie are dressing up the young bridesmaids, and everyone there is as happy as you could imagine. Meanwhile, the father of the bride and the best man are unable to contact my brother, and after gaining access to his room, realize he's not there, and the bed was clearly not slept in.
It's The Hangover. It's The Hangover.
I don't think I've seen The Hangover.
What? Classic movie.
Wait.
The Hangover was Galifianakis and Bradley Cooper.
Oh, I might have seen that.
They're partying before the wedding.
Yeah.
Or they're partying in Vegas. They need to get back to the wedding in where they're from. And then they supposedly do a lot of drugs, and then they lose the groom. And then you need to find the groom
I have seen
to
this
get
movie.
to the wedding in time.
Yeah.
This is what this is.
They start frantically trying to call and go out looking. Service is at 12:30 p.m. He finally answers at around 10:30, telling the best man to calm down. He's coming back soon.
It's like, chill,
Was
I'm
there
coming.
one with a tiger or something in that
There
movie?
was a tiger
I
in the
have
bathroom.
seen this movie.
Yeah.
There's music and laughter in the background, and he's clearly at some kind of party. He then hangs up and turns his phone off. An hour later, there's still no sign, and the guys make the decision to head to the ladies' hotel next door and tell them what's happened.
Not bro code. You gotta find him on the
Gotta
roof
find
first
him.
before you tell the woman.
I'm sure you can imagine the scene as such a happy morning turns to one of complete devastation.
Aw.
That's so sad. With the father and mother of the bride bawling into each other's arms, the bride hysterical, being consoled by my sister and bridesmaids, my mother, auntie, and the best man watching all of this and feeling heartbroken and also complete embarrassment.
Yeah, because they were like partying with him the
Yeah.
night before.
Messed up. It got to 12:15 with the bride holding out hope for the final few seconds before realizing it was over and they had to cancel, and that was that. The next time my brother was seen was randomly by a wedding reception guest that turned up at the wrong hotel about 3:30 p.m. He was drinking in a bar over the road on his own, and when asked what the heck he was doing, just played it off with, "Meh, what's all the fuss about? No big deal. We can do it anytime."
He has a point. They can do it anytime.
We can do it anytime.
Hey, come on. We'll do it like next week.
We've
or
got the whole
something.
day at the venue. The guest left him to it, and we all met at the reception.
This guest, like, imagine
He's like, "Hey, aren't you
you're about to get married?
Aren't you supposed to be at the wedding?" And
He's
he's like, "Man,
chill.
don't rush me."
Hey, there's a lot of pressure to put on a groom.
The guest left him to it, and we all met at the reception. The bride had decided to go ahead as a thank you to those who'd made the effort to travel to be there, take days off, etc. But I'm sure you can imagine how it all went down, with people randomly breaking into tears or getting angry throughout the night.
That's so
That's awkward.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
Having to do that. That's so embarrassing.
So embarrassing to be like, hey guys, no wedding, but we're going to have a party.
You guys like cake?
You guys like cake? We're going to all get our credit cards out. Eat
Yeah,
cake.
and eat the cake and cry together.
Now it's the next morning, and the bride and her family travel home. My brother's outside the house complaining about being cold and to be let in. However, when he sees the faces of the bride, her father, and her brothers, he swiftly turns on the waterworks and starts apologizing to them all about how he didn't mean it.
What does that even mean? You
that
don't mean it.
He basically got chased out of the street. His bags were packed and thrown out onto the lawn. His designer clothes and shoes that she had paid for over the years were sold on Facebook Marketplace that afternoon. He has no phone as he lost it at some point. His bank account is empty as he spent everything on that one drinking session, and he has nowhere to go. None of us would take him in, and my mother is going to stay with her for a few weeks to take care of everything.
Stay with, the bride.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so the groom's mom is going to spend time with the bride.
With her, because she's like, sorry about my son. He's the worst.
Wow.
That's the story, and now we're living with the aftermath. The news is all over Facebook. Ugh. And everyone is feeling heartbroken and humiliated. My mother has always been a wonderful, kind-hearted lady, but has never been able to have a happy life since she left my abusive father and his... I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know what that's... Yeah. She's been dealing with my brother's issues ever since. I think she thought she'd finally got him over the finish line with this wedding, and now that hope has turned to dust.
Put in a frame of... It seems like he has, like, so crappy for the wife.
Yeah.
Like, such a terrible situation for a family.
Absolutely.
Just awful. And also, like, it seems like he needs help and support.
Yeah.
And he's, like, struggling big time with his addiction.
It doesn't necessarily mean that he has to get that from the fiance or ex-fiance now.
For sure.
But yeah, hopefully he can get that, because it does seem like it's an ongoing problem.
Yeah, he needs help.
My thoughts are with her and his lovely would-be wife, but I have a deep level of anxiety and dread over what happens now with my brother. He doesn't deserve to be allowed back into her life, and obviously her family utterly despises him at this point, along with most of my family, his friends and best man. I hear a neighbor has put him up in a hotel outside of town for a few days. Always a bleeding heart for him to turn to clear his head. However, with no family, phone, home, it's in her name, car, it's in her name, or money, I just can't see where he goes from here. But I know where you can go from here.
Oh.
Joining us live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST. Just tap our profile.
You got it.
Got there eventually. And there is a little bit more to the story.
It seems like OP is like very resentful around
I think so.
her brother and like holds no empathy for him.
Well, I think this is behavior that OP has seen for a while.
I could understand that building up.
Yeah, I think it's like hard. Like for us, we can see, there's definitely, he's got his own things. The brother has his own things going on and is probably battling addiction and stuff. But I think when you're close to that and you've been on the receiving end of this bad behavior, I think it's hard to... Yeah.
I get that. It makes so much sense to like build resentment.
Yeah.
And also like it doesn't seem like he's done anything vindictive or malicious. He's 100% hurt people very much. But at the same time, it seems just major struggling. Yeah,
but I also think that with addiction, you can only give so much advice and like say, hey, I think you should go, go to rehab or stuff. Mm-hmm. But they have to make that step too. Mm-hmm. Which it doesn't seem like he's at that point, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And Garden Bee says, happy belated Halloween and Diwali.
Well, actually, I don't know. We don't know how the conversations have gone. If there's just solely been blame, like you do this and this and this, or coming from a point of like, you're obviously struggling. Yeah. Do you need support? Like, what do you need? What's going on? Yeah. You could talk to us and be transparent. I don't know if those conversations have happened. Maybe they happened a long time ago and they're just over them. I don't know.
Petty Patty says, at a certain point, you have to walk away from these types of family members. You can't help someone who clearly doesn't want it yet. It's part of why I have no contact with my mother, which I think agree with that. I think putting yourself in like harm's way in terms of emotionally when people are constantly disappointing you and you're trying to help them, which we don't know we don't know what the relationship here is. But yeah, I think he has to make part of that step too.
Sure. Yeah, I have a friend whose mom has addiction issues, and hearing my friend's perspective growing up with that is like so heartbreaking. And so I could understand like to be on the receiving end of being in some form of relationship with someone who abuses substances, how traumatizing it is for them. And then obviously the person who does have the substance addiction issues is probably traumatized in their own right and is seeking solace from the substance.
Absolutely. At almost 40, the days of him using his boyish good looks and charm to worm his way back in or elsewhere are pretty much done. And the big fear is that he goes down the same path his dad did. The bride, my mother, sister, and now possibly her mother in his place, along with the kids, are about to fly out on the honeymoon for 10 days, which I couldn't be happier about. At least they're using that honeymoon.
Yeah,
that's
you deserve it.
That will really help him. My brother, however, is now on his own, penniless, alone with his thoughts until he has to check out on Monday morning. I have an overwhelming sense of anxiety and despair. Cliff's brother is a wiener. And that is the end of that story.
What was that last line?
Brother is a wiener.
Who said that?
I think OP. Opie was like, Cliff's Note,
Oh.
short version, my brother sucks.